Vena mtakatifu Ruto akashia haiongopi ile kata mjibu itamtoa zitabu umenuliwa macho matatu mwenzio ana kiswaswali nafsi yake navyumia itakutesa dikizazi unashare na huyo baria mwisho walete maradhi na affair mfungulie mshikaji rudi kwake familia na mhitaji please nusuru ndoa yake
umechanganya dawa kwa waganga mpaka nyumbani kwangu kaondoka kisa kufunga kutunza wewe watoto nateseka tena umezidisha dawa amekuwa mjinga umemfanya zasasa heshima ya mwanamke ni ndoa majirani wananicheka.
All these sectors, starting with the judiciary, the legislature, and even the executive itself, look at also the oversighting bodies like the ESCC. These are bodies that are supposed to come on board and put our leaders to account. But one of the major concerns is that these institutions were established to protect our rights and ensure that our leaders act responsibly. But look at what is happening. These bodies have totally failed to fulfill their responsibility. And that's where our question comes in. When will these bodies realize the urgency of our responsibilities? When will they realize that can we now put aside the politics? Can we put aside the favorism? Can't we come and do the check and balance? Can't we have a country that is progressing in terms of economic, in terms of socio-political, in terms of putting all the sectors aboard so that we can create job employment for youths? Look at the graduates that universities produce every year. Where are they going? They don't know. They don't have a plan. They're just there. They're just having a government that doesn't have a clear plan, a roadmap on what they're doing. So, as I move on, we can also say that we as the citizens, we feel that we have that disconnect from the government because, number one, many of us have lost trust in this system. I bet no one can put trust in this. No one can come and say that we all trust this government. We have totally disconnected ourselves from the trust to this government. And it deepens the gap between the government and the people. So we need to recognize that governance is not just about those in power. It is about the responsibility they have to serve the public. When this bond is broken, the future of our nation becomes uncertain. Look where we are as a country. Look where we are as Kenya. The second year of the government, we are seeing a disconnect from the deputy president and the president, a fallout. Surely 2 years, 24 months, nothing has been done. You cannot tell me that you have a government that every public sector, every sector is failing. Look at the education sector. Look at the health sector. Nothing that someone can say that or can defend that something is being done here. Look at the transport sector. What is happening at JKA right now? No, how can you tell me that now we have a government that has competence? How can we come and say we can defend this government by saying that it's a working government? But today you can see even what is happening. We can see the members of parliament coming together, collecting signatures because they want to impeach one of their own. And why? Because maybe they've created that culture of looting our resources until they feel like now I'm also supposed to loot more than the other. They start fighting each other because of our resources. Even this impeachment, you will not be shocked to find that the kind of disagreement they're having is because of our resources that they're supposed to run our country. They are fighting because of our resources. And some of us will just sit there, now have sympathy for them. Now the president is fighting the president is fighting the deputy president. Why are we now feeling that? Are we now being sidelined? No. Actually, one thing I need to appreciate the Generation Z because I think I've seen it. They don't have that tribalism. They don't have that tribal in us. I think it's high time that we've come to realize that no matter what, no matter any region block that we have, we can see a leader that who can deliver. I think that is the person that we have to put trust. We check on that person. If he fails, we just come on his neck for accountability. But you see, today where we are, we are on ourselves. No one is talking about our interest. Politicians have come on board just trying to protect interest. They just want to protect their opulence, nothing else. And I think one thing that I leave everybody that with is that I know right now we are still on course to try to rectify some of the system in this government as the citizens. Yes, we can't have that much strength to push some things because after all, this is the government of the day that we have, but we can plan something. These 3 years are this is a very good time for us to plan. Number one, we make sure that we have the voting card, we have our IDs. I know there are those constraints that they've put so that the Gen Z, they don't be given ID, right? But you just apply, have those credentials. When it comes for election and you just have a friend that does not have a voter, there's nothing that you're going to talk with that person. There's no way that we can just come here on online platform. We just keep on repeating things that we usually say every day. But when it comes to doing them, we don't do them. We're just sitting there online browsing TikToks. Some of us don't want to engage ourselves knowing which kind of these things that are being passed in parliament. Only I'm very sure, even if you just try to check on ourselves, many of us just went to follow up on the impeachment motion for Gachagua. But let us ask a sincere question to ourselves. How many times do we listen to the proceedings in the parliament? How many times have you listened to some of the bills, some of the motions that have been brought before the parliament? Are we following up on these things? And yet when we come and just see now things are not on our side, also we come and just trying to raise questions. So my point is that regardless of anything that is happening in our country, we're supposed to keep track. Let us be on board. Let us come together and follow up on every public sector, everything that is happening, whether be it Ministry of Sport, Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Agriculture, everywhere. We occupy everywhere. And when we mean accountability, we have to be strict on it. Be it coming on streets the way we are doing it, consistency is the key. Now look at what is happening in our country at the moment. Now we are being taken away from our focus. Now coming to focus on very things that don't have essence in our country. Now how will Gachagua help me surely? How will Gachagua help those children who have been buried today to the graves? How will Gachagua going to help the parents who have lost those kids there? We've killed the future of our kids. We're having a government that doesn't even care about what is happening, about our kids' education, nothing. We are just left on our side alone. We're just alone on this. So I think I just want also to congratulate what Morara is doing, trying also to educate. Civic education is very important. When we are informed, because information is power. When you have information from where you sit from, when you are fully informed, because I know that this generation where we had Generation Z, this is a very educated generation. Is ile pale tunaweza sema tunabeba ufala hivyo hapana, because these people have realized that many of us were informed with the constitution. We can even quote the clauses, the articles. We know our rights. And they are not happy the way we are fully informed about all these things, because they used to see us that they are these people below age of 30. They don't know anything, but they are being shocked. And that is why you can see them grouping themselves. How many of you expected that Raila Odinga will come to side with Ruto? This is because these people are very greedy. They just come they just come together so that they can just try to maybe protect their interest. So this clearly shows that there's nothing that we need to have sympathy for these people. They play the same politics, nothing they're doing. Look where we are right now. The country is just going to politics. There's no work that is being done. Everybody just talking about politics. Lecturers are on strike. What did it take so that they can just come to sit on table and agree? Parents are still paying for the household, for the students, from where they just do the operation from home to school. Their rental houses, they are paying rent. How come that all these 1 month that has gone for strike, no classes going, nothing, just at home doing nothing? And then you just tell me that now we just also sit there with just do nothing? I think we are tired of this government. I think we've seen the worst they can do for us. There's nothing. We have no trust at this government. And in conclusion, I think the path we take as a country depends on our collective action. We must come together as citizens, civil society, and institutions to restore the rule of law and strengthen our governance. Only then can we build a bright future for Kenya. One where justice prevails, accountability is the norm, and every citizen feels empowered to participate in the democratic process. So I think the task is left on our side. Let us join hands together. This is not the time maybe we should be blaming ourselves. Why are they doing this? No. In fact, we shouldn't be caring about these people. In fact, me, I'm very happy to see the way they are fighting. Let them fight, because once their fight will never assist us in anything. It will never bring food on our table. They're just fighting for their children. They're just fighting for their relatives, for their families. Even though we just come and say that our son of the mountain is being politically sidelined, just going on seats because of him. Look at the people who took credit on the Generation Z protest. Look at the people who are being appointed to government, who took credit of our efforts we did, waking up in the morning, not even taking anything, just going to sit so that we can defend our democracy, we can defend the rule of law, we can defend this country, the future of our children, our education. They don't even want us to be educated so that we can come to put them in account. How surely can you consolidate all the funds? How can you categorize students in different bands without having public participation? How can you put something in effect and then you come to seek public participation after something has been implemented? Really? I think we need to have a very lengthy conversation and very healthy. I bet we have the people we have in government are maybe they are having some mental problem. I don't even the things that even our president is speaking abroad and here in Kenya are very different things. Recently, he said that that Ford Foundation was the one that was funding the Generation Z. Today, now they are saying it is the deputy president who was funding the protest. When he was abroad at the US, he was saying, oh, the Ford Foundation is doing a good job in helping our country in terms of economic transformation. Now, like, where are we? What is this guy saying? And then we just put our trust on this guy. I think these are even people who don't know what they're doing. They're just wasting our resources, wasting our time. And this time will never come back. So I think, as I just finish from here, I think we should be very vigilant on ourselves. Let us stand very firm. Let us have that straightforwardness. Let us put our minds together. We have lawyers, we have doctors, we have economists from ourselves. We are learned. We can sit, we can put our minds together, and I'm pretty sure that we can take this country forward. It doesn't mean we don't need Ruto, we don't need Raila Odinga. Who are they? We don't need these big fish. We ourselves, we can be those big fish. We have the minds. We have the brains. We can reason. We can put a proper leadership, a leadership that is working for this country. We need to have managers. We are tired of these politicians. We need to have people who follow the rule of law. We need to have people who adhere to the rule of law. So we will keep talking all these things.
I'm waiting for you to land.
Yes?
I'm waiting for you to land. I think I've given you enough time, so I'm waiting for your closing statement now.
Thank you very much. As I'm closing, let me just close because I think we'll just keep on talking until tomorrow. As I close, I think my stressing point is that I think we should be conversant with our rule of law, because everything that happens in our country revolves around the rule of law. So if we have people who follow the rule of law, if we have our institutions being grounded on the rule of law, they do their job without being compromised, without being influenced politically, I think we could be in a very better position as a country. Thank you very much, and I appreciate you guys for being there this time, because we are here to shape up our country, and that is Kenya. And may God bless this country. Thank you. to try to rectify some of the system in this government as the citizens. Yes, we can't have that much strength to push some things because after all, this is the government of the day that we have, but we can plan something. These 3 years are this is a very good time for us to plan. Number one, we make sure that we have the voting card, we have our IDs. I know there are those constraints that they've put so that the Gen Z they don't be given ID, right? But you just apply, have those credentials. When it comes for election and you just have a friend that does not have a voter, there's nothing that you're going to talk with that person. There's no way that we can just come here on online platform. We just keep on repeating things that we usually say every day. But when it comes to doing them, we don't do them. We're just sitting there online browsing TikToks. Some of us don't want to engage ourselves knowing which kind of these things that are being passed in parliament. Only I'm very sure, even if you just try to check on ourselves, many of us just went to follow up on the impeachment motion for Gachagua. But let us ask a sincere question to ourselves. How many times do we listen to the proceedings in the parliament? How many times have you listened?
Yes, because these guys will stick to power. Yangu Kumi, Ruto Kumi. That will happen, whether you like it or not. Once these people are in office, they will stop at nothing. They will kill. They will loot. They will do everything. Is that not what has happened? Today, when I go home, people call me a prophet. How did you see these things? But these things are open for anybody with even a grade 3 education. So let's not start saying, I wonder, that's my first point. Why are we so surprised that this is how Ruto is performing? This is scripted. This is a scripted thing from 2012 to ruin the Kenya economy and loot it. So what they disagreed on was who is looting more. Come 2022, way forward. We are back to almost 20 years. I thought probably we'll go back 10 years, but we went 20 years. And then Ruto, so we went back to 2002. Then Ruto comes in 2 years, he takes us back to 91. So if we let this thing continue, do you know where we will be by the end? If Ruto gets a second term, he is taking us back to 1963. While he told us that he's gonna not do forced disappearances, he's not. Nobody's gonna kill. He has killed the number that Uhuru killed in 10 years. He has killed in 2. He has ruined the economy that he ruined in 10 years. He has ruined in 2. So we are eventually going to 1963, and the dynasty he was talking about, he came to remove. He wants to be the dynasty himself. So any Kenya of good thinking, if we don't get this guy out in 27, I know right now it's difficult because he's already too entrenched. You saw he was in Haiti. And we are just praying that Trump is elected in the US because Trump is a no-nonsense person. I never liked Trump, but for interest of Africa, I pray every day for Trump to get that seat. He'll ruin America, but he'll fix Africa. So that's my prayer and prayer for everybody. Finally, this Mulima story, nobody believes it. Even a child of grade 1 knows this is choreographed so that you can divert your mind from Adani, from elsewhere. All ye thinking Kenyans, please do not listen to that Murima nonsense. Do not for even a minute. When I see it on TV, I switch it off. I don't want to hear Moi, Ruto. I don't want to hear this Murima guy speaking. All I want is for the Gen Z, the Gen Zote, who came together to make sure in 2027, we send these guys home as a package, including Raila, including everybody, including this so-called leader of ours who has emerged, is now a state operative. Yesterday I was with Miguna, personally. And if you follow his tweet, he shows you why Morara is not the next leader. Morara is now compromised. Even the guy who he got accident with is a state operative of the RIKE. They call it RIKE Squad. This guy was sent apparently to protect Morara, but he had to send a message to Morara. Morara is now so afraid. Going forward, you will not see whatever he was doing, and eventually he's going to be compromised, be offered some seat, maybe in parliament, and we have lost that one. He is a goner. Thank you very much. That's all I wanted to contribute. I'll keep listening. If anybody has a question, I'll stay on for a little while. I'm leaving in about 30 minutes. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Ruriki, also for your submission. And I want to know why you guys really think Morara is compromised, because I feel sometimes when people speak these things of compromise and all this, I feel like, hey, I'm a mimi ndo nakuanga blind. Yeah, so maybe you can help us understand what makes people believe that Morara is compromised. And as well, ladies and gentlemen, just to highlight, pale vijuku na tip jaline, yes, we are at 00. Ingia pale vindani to support if you can. I see Western.
Tumeiona na nikitoka kwa hii space immediately utapata pesa ya mboga.
Asante sana, Rurigi.
Na ya network. Where is our friend Kurt Sonko?
Kurt Sonko today is not within the space today, but yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good guy. And I find it difficult to distinguish between your voices.
Allah. That's a first.
Yeah, so sometimes I don't know whether it is Sonko or you talking, but at least now the way you have put your whatever, I can see it is Pepita. So
yes,
very good job you guys are doing.
Thank you so much.
So if you want me to respond to that question you're saying about Morara, up to yesterday, I was convinced that, like you. But I spent 2 hours with Miguna, and he laid it out on me, and I agree with him that this guy is compromised. You know, where the compromise comes in is this. When Morara was working by himself and doing impromptu visits without nobody knowing where he's going to go tomorrow, no itinerary, he just appears, does his job, takes the video, no bodyguards, nobody, just takes the video. That is when he was making the point. Because even the state could not be able to follow him. They don't know where he's going. They don't know what he's going to do tomorrow. They don't know whether he'll be in Muranga, or he'll be in Kiratina, or he will be somewhere in Mandera. That way he was succeeding. The minute he started now formulating that I am going to be going here, and he announced it beforehand, and people now start coming to congregate. It looks like a good thing because now he's attracting crowds. But on the end of the day, the state is now able to monitor him so well. And don't think Ruto takes things sitting down. Ruto is not a joker. He did not get this thing. Can you imagine somebody defeating this the system from inside? It has never happened in Kenya. This is a new thing. So you think Ruto will agree to just lose it like that because of a young man who so irresponsibly yesterday, I listened to him saying that I will not hesitate to jail Ruto. You think an easy matter like that? This guy who was in Hague and killed witnesses, Ruto is like an injured lion at this time, which has already tasted human blood, like the man-eaters of Sabo. It will eat man gladly. Morara will be consumed like, if he continues to insist and refuse a compromise, his life will end up like his grandfather. I can tell you, as a Kikuyu elder, we have seen this, and we are warning him, if he does not change his ways, come back to his original ways in disguise, don't accept to be compromised, don't accept any state security, because those are the people who will kill him. The accident was to send him a message. We can kill you at a whim if we want. But this time was just to warn you. Okay? So it's not compromising the nature that he is seeking it, but the state is seeking to either kill him or compromise him, whichever is easier for them. As we go closer to 2027, these threats will become even higher. If he is seen to be able to mobilize the community the way he is doing, he will be eliminated. Take that to the bank. Okay? So, right now, anybody who is of good thinking and good interest for Morara should advise him to go back to his original ways. These guys, no security, just appear on yourself, organize with the people on the ground, they come and meet you, you do your video, don't even post it live, post it after. Don't do it live, so they don't know how to track you. If you go live, they will know where you are. Now they already put security following you in the guise that they are protecting you. Because personally, I've written to Ruto. Ruto was my classmate in University of Nairobi, somebody I know. I've told him, if you kill Morara, personally, I'm going back to law school so that I can come and prosecute you in The Hague after power. Whether it's 2032, whether it's 2027, you are going back to Hague. Me and Miguna will make sure you are jailed for life. That's how serious we are with this matter. Thank you very much. So whoever does not believe that Ruto is a threat is like you're joking. I've just given you an example. The hungry, injured lions of the Savo, during the railway building. Once a lion is injured and it has tasted human blood, it will stop at nothing. It can even have 1 million gazelles, but it will still go for the human. So Ruto is like that. Dangerous. Dangerous. You play with him at your peril. We can afford to talk like this because we are in Canada. And I'm telling you, the minute it is known that I'm associating with Miguna, I may not even be able to come to Kenya. So let me stop at that point. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Rurigi, for that submission. I see Western. I mean, I'm going to do Western.
Pepita.
Yeah.
Ours is what they call guided democracy. That's why, if you listen to what Ruriga said, those are unpopular sentiments. But facts are very brutal because they don't disappear because you've ignored them or you're not seeing them. Ours is guided democracy. That's what it is. I keep on saying here that we fantasize democracy a lot in Kenya, but when you look at it critically, it's hollow. I do agree with the Rurigi that Ruto has got options when it comes to, if you say Morara will be the candidate of Gen Z, that gives him one hell lot of time to plan, to scheme, and what have you. Because they say one day in politics is a lot of time. Now here we're talking about years. Can you imagine if you've identified your adversary, and in advance you're telling the adversary that you'll attack them on a particular date, and you think you'll get your adversary seated pretty on their laurels waiting for you to come and take them out like a sitting duck? You kidding me? You kidding me? And he's been in this politics much longer. And one thing I give it to him. I said facts are stubborn. Is that you have to give it to him when it comes to political instinct. It's high, political instinct. Governance is something else. But politics, how to read politics and what to do, the chessboard kind of thing, you have to give it to him. Because of all people Moi tutored, this is the guy you would say who graduated. The rest did not graduate. And he's a student, you would say, he even outsmarted the teacher. He did outsmart the teacher. When Moi was thinking about, I want to hand over the Kalenjin to my son, Ruto had run away with that constituency. It's gone. It's completely gone. He was left, he didn't know what happened. Such that by the time that old man was passing on, they were not seeing eye to eye with Ruto. So he's not a politician you can underestimate. You can't. Your work is cut out for you. And when you say that, it's not that you're being melancholic. It's not that you are selling hopelessness. You are saying that work is cut out for us. And we have to crank up our thinking, our strategy, and we have to be brutal with one another as opposed to, telling one another the things we want to hear. For me, Morara is about what I've listened to him say and stuff like that, nothing else. When you say your ambition is to become a billionaire, immediately billionaires in Kenya can identify your weakness. It's like you're saying you are into a fight, but you say, I also love fine wine. Okay, people who know where fine wine is brewed will go and look for it. You've already told them your weakness. So he said his ambition is to become a billionaire, but he can get into politics and this. Now, moneyed people in Kenya already identify you. That's your weakness. That's your weakness. And they say, we can work with this person actually. But if you say, I want to get into power to smash this feudal-like socio-political system, I want to smash this feudalism in Kenya. I want to fight against inequalities. I want to bring majority of Kenyans into the mainstream economy. People who have got money will sit up and think how they're going to compromise you. Because you're wedded to something bigger than yourself. But once you're wedded to something like wealth and money, you have not conquered yourself, and therefore you can't conquer anybody. Self-conquest is the greatest form of conquest. If you can't conquer yourself in terms of the things you fantasize, the things that make you salivate, well, you are fair game to those who have been in this game much longer. Do people know that in the last election, the Wajakoya candidature was suspect? Do people know that? When people say no, some candidates really, do people know that candidature was suspect? Do people know that? Because I would listen to people say, no, Wajakoya can get, 200,000 votes, 500. I say, you're kidding me. Do you know how many 200,000 votes are in a presidential election? Or 500,000? Do you know how big that number is? No, he's going to get, no. Then you realize, no. This candidate here is out to serve some nefarious purpose. What his role was to see whether he could halve youth votes so that, could create a too close to call kind of presidential race. Because why would a candidate be talking about bang and marijuana and stuff like that in a country that supposedly is conservative? You tell me where the logic is. And the church people were never even speaking about it. And if they were doing it, it was in some tame voices. And there was no this backlash against who is this, who is saying what. So he was reduced to some kind of a lampoon, some buffoon, saying very weird things, I don't know, hyena balls and stuff like that. Comic relief. But there was a role he was meant to play, which didn't come to pass. So when I talk about guided democracy, that's what I mean. They're usually undercurrent things that you don't see. Secondly, people are asking, now you can campaign even at night in the middle of the CBD of Nairobi, and the security apparatus don't pounce on you. They seem not to be concerned. One, the inference is this. They don't think you're a threat to them. They don't. That's the thing. If in Kenya you're campaigning for high office, or you've declared your intention to run for high office, and the state is least bothered about what you're doing, the conclusion is that they don't think you're a threat. Or secondly, they think you're pandering and you're advancing their agenda. When Rurigi said, what could happen in elections down the road? It's not like it's something you can predict like as a prophet. You just draw from a history that we have got an inconclusive election down the road. And then if the Gen Zs had a candidate, well, the candidate will just be offered a ministerial position in government. And they say, how many people are around you? Come, join this. Because that's what has happened in the past. And they think it can happen in the future. So supporters, if you want to make noise, they ask, but your leader is accepted the deal. Who are you to oppose that deal? With one fell swoop, you have completely dismantled what people thought would be an existential threat to your hold on power. And therefore, when you come together and coalesce under an umbrella of a political party, then what is expected of people who do that is that then you have to study your opponent quite closely and quite robustly. You have to study your opponent. If you don't, he takes you to the cleaners. And I can tell you this for free. Towards 2022 elections, Pepita, I think that day when Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta shook hands outside Harambee House, if you remember that day and that year, a colleague of mine who is not even a Kenyan told me, my brother, you have to prepare for a Raila Odinga presidency. And then I asked him, why do you say that? He told me, yeah, he's going to be endorsed by Uhuru Kenyatta, the sitting president. And the two of them, I don't think there's anybody in Kenya who can defeat them. And my response was terse and immediate. I told him, it's not going to happen. It will not happen. He didn't believe me. He was not the only one who didn't believe me. Even some of my close friends, and they didn't believe me. They said, no, you must be high on something. This can't happen. I said, he is not going to defeat this guy. Well, I said, okay, after elections, you can call me, and then we talk about it. After elections, yes, some of them, they called me, but what were you saying? How did you know this would not happen? I told them, we asked him how I knew. I could tell because this guy is really ruthless in the way he's organizing himself. These other guys are taking things for granted. You can tell, completely disorganized. I don't think they have what it takes to beat him. They said, no, the might of the state. I said, no, that might of the state is delusion. You're not going to beat him. And that doesn't mean I endorse him or I don't. That's what I'm seeing. It came to pass. 2016, that was the first time also. When everybody else was saying, Hillary is going to defeat Donald Trump. And I told people, no, Hillary is not going to beat Donald Trump. Donald Trump will beat Hillary Clinton. If Donald Trump defeated those presidential aspirants within the Republican Party, then there's nothing is going to stop him. He's going all the way to the Oval Office. Say, no, it can't be. No, don't. Say, okay. The US elections usually play themselves out in the media for all and sundry to see and follow. After the elections, call me and tell me what the results would have been like. Well, some of them did come back to me, some of them did not. So I'm telling you, I usually cut out the noise and what is it that people are saying. I just have to look at what's happening here. What is this candidate doing? What is that candidate doing? And what are the chances of this candidate? That is it. That's what I do. And that is outside of my preferences. It doesn't mean, even if I prefer you to win the presidency, and I'm convinced that you can't, I would say, no, you're not going to win this thing. If I believe you're not going to win this thing, or you don't stand a chance, but I see along the way your chances have improved, I'll say, no, this person at the beginning didn't stand a chance. But now he has got a realistic chance of winning this thing. But what do we do in Kenya, Pepita? What do we do if I've got a candidate, even if I see the weaknesses of that candidate, even if I see their campaign is not up to scratch, I still cling to that candidate. What does that mean? It means now I'm prioritizing my feelings and likes as opposed to dispassionately reading the political happenings before me. So I can see Raila Odinga's campaign is in a shambles. But because he's my candidate, I insist that he's going to win elections. That's not how it happens. And when he doesn't, I think, oh, something happened. No, I can see this is not my candidate. But his machinery is well oiled. He's the candidate to beat. I will say, no, I lock it out. It's called cognitive dissonance, whereby you're not receptive to anything that goes counter to that which you passionately believe in. And that's what we do in Kenya. So it's not like you don't like Morara. If you say these things, it's not like you don't like him. It's not like Miguna doesn't like him. But when Miguna does, he dispassionately reads the things that are happening outside of his likes and dislikes. And when he comes up with those conclusions and observations, you could easily dismiss him as somebody who doesn't like a person, or somebody who is a rabble-rouser, or somebody who is throwing a spanner in the works. That's not what it is. So this is my reading of Morara. He comes across as naive. And our politics does not like that kind of character, to be naive. You have to be ahead of the game. If you don't, well, at the end of the day, they make means of you and life continues. But the problem is that those who believe in you suffer a lot in terms of heartache. Heartache. They suffer. Broken hearts and stuff like that. So that's where the only problem, I only worry, when we don't place these people under the microscope and observe and read them dispassionately, brutally, and honestly. We invest emotions in them. Well, in actual sense, down the road, there are pitfalls, and they're going to fall into those pitfalls. So my inference is twice. Either they believe Morara is not a threat to the hold on power, or they think they can cut deals with him down the road. It's as simple as that. I yield, Pipita.
Hey, Western Shilaho gets us to the top of the hour again. Hey, MZ. They believe so zapata kwamba Umra ni the people. The reason why sijakujua ni kwa sababu sijafika level. Mama you.
Social conversations, engaging topics on your phone anywhere. This is Home Run with PP.
Lakini that's why mimi nawaambianga kila siku hapa na narudia kila siku kwamba sitaki pesa ya wanasiasa. Hata corporate wenyewe saa zingine when you get their money, they want to micromanage you. You get. If I was a radio presenter in a media house right now, I would probably be working under certain stringent looks. Watu wakinimark, unanielewa? Lakini because now I am able to just do my thing hapa hivi nje, it's easier for me to say some words. It's easier for me to let people speak to the space without fearing that kuna mtu atatufanyia kitu mbaya. This is Home Run with People, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, for me, I have dedicated my life to educating and, of course, creating a platform where people can just speak up their minds without fear of, being persecuted or being judged for whatever. Of course, hapa hivi kwenye Home Run with People, our show is supported by you, the listener. If you like what we are doing, there is a tip jar line. 0721948229 is the number where you drop in your support. Of course, that helps us keep that independence of thought, and of course inatusaidia pia kulipa rent. We moved our studio to a room. So yeah, we have to pay rent for it every month, and of course mambo ya internet nini. Yeah, so whatever you put in that tip jar really helps in moving this studio to the next level. And of course, as you see, I have some short-term goals. Yeah, hizo nataka nikishaweka viti na hizo some back decor hapa hivi kwenye ukuta hapa. All of this now will now start making sense. So that is what I'm doing. So mkishangaa mbona nawaambia weka tip is because it really helps in helping maintain the independence of voice. Unajua ningekuwa mtu kama wa UDA sasa ningekuwa nimeanza kublock watu. Ama ningekuwa mtu maybe wasaidia Raila. You see the way the bloggers lose instant what we call it, they lose credibility instantly. We are guided by their political god. So that is what we are doing here kwa Home Run Pipi. So thank you so much kwa wale ambao kwa hivi ndani wakitusikiza, wale wana share the space, wale wanaongea kwenye space, and of course everybody who finds time to be here. Rurigi, I see you want to talk. I want also to go to Richard right after you, and Tanimaru team is also on the line. We are about 7 p.m. East African time. 2 more hours to the end of the show, so we have time. Rurigi.
Yes, just one statement. I agree totally, and I think there's no contradiction or conflict between what Western just presented. He only has very good political language. Me, I'm presenting it very raw. But the point I wanted to just emphasize what he said is this idea that the Ruto and the guided democracy, the way they work is that they evaluate your threat profile. If you're not a threat to their interest, they don't even give you attention. They don't follow you. The minute they start following you, you know you have reached their threat profile, which is a watch status. Now, when you're in watch status, everything you do is monitored. But now, when you reach a level where you could threaten their holding power, for example, in 2027, now that is where the threat level is elevated to emergency and all systems go on you. So that is the point we are asking Morara not to allow himself to reach. Number two little point, Morara has already identified his weakness and his what he is salivating for. This is things these people acquired long ago, way like 30 years ago. He's where Ruto was 30 years ago, with the belly, the fire in the belly, but not for good governance. It's now coming out clearly that he's more interested, like Western said, on making money. And he thinks probably, like Ruto thought, and he has been proven correct, that politics is the way to wealth. Ruto has never owned any industry. Ruto has never owned any, even this chicken he says he was selling is a total lie. He was selling chicken while he was in high school to educate himself because they were poor, poor. Otherwise, the minute he got into governance, he has never done a business a day in his life. He has just lived politics. Now, Morara is even ahead of Ruto in that respect because he's running a business. He's making some money. Even the first car Morara bought for himself, first car for Ruto was bought by us. I know who bought the car for Ruto. So that's why I could raise to another profile if he knows now I'm working with people, so I can disclose some of this information. I know who bought the first car for Ruto. So the reality is Morara has to be very careful, go back to his original script, go back to financing himself, don't accept gifts from politicians. In fact, he should not even accept gifts from anybody. He has enough resources to finance himself. The only thing is, in this discreetly, he can organize himself among his groups, don't even use bank, just transact under the table, get the money, put it in your account as if it is your business account. So these people cannot trace. They'll think you keep making money from your business and the business is growing, and meanwhile continue to grow your business because you don't know the way the politics will go. But the route is going through is going to lead to disaster, and that's what we are trying to avoid. Thank you very much, Peter. Just that, you can go to Richard. Yeah.
All right. Let me hear. First of all, I don't want to make it a podcast, so I want to hear Richard. And of course, Western, when you come back, I want you to just give me one word, one answer, a word, Western. Ellis Hill is our long-time listener hapa kwa Home Run. Anasema kwamba Western, I am curious, who do you think will win the presidential race in the United States of America in 2024? Western, who are you putting your donkey on?
Pepita, if I was a bookmaker, I would put my money on Donald J. Trump.
Where? Okay. I'll be here. Unajua uzuri Home Run, November 7th is actually a weekday. It's Monday. Ngoja, no, that is October. November is on Thursday. Yes, that is when they are going to election. So I think your week, Monday 11th, will be here. Ellis Hill is in the United States, of course. He is definitely going to be affected directly by whatever outcome that election is. So yeah, our American listeners, our Kenyan American listeners, unajua kuna kitu mnasahau kujua kwamba we have dual citizenship in our country. Yeah, so mtu kama nani? Mtu kama Miguna is a dual citizen, and very many other people, even some of them are listening in this show, who are American citizen and Kenyan citizens. Nyindo mebarikiwa. Thank you so much, Hannah, for the tip pale hivi ndani kwenye tip ja. Naona Richard. How are you doing, Richard?
I'm doing fine, PP. I just want to confirm if you can hear me.
I can hear you loud and clear, bro.
Thank you. So, PP, I've heard what Rurigi and Western, and I respect Western because he always has deep.
Two of the most decorated clubs in English football. It is always a big deal with these two. And Garnacho! That is of the very high.
Stream all Premier League games wherever you are on Showmax Premier League. Available now on Showmax.
Ikonene. Sijui place the President Ruto yuko saa hizi, but kile najua ni earlier this week alikuwa masaid za New York. And of course akiwa New York ilikuwa ni a family affair. So ukigo on the internet utaona images za wife wake akichill with the first ladies. So wife wake kuna vile alienda kuchill na kina Jill Biden. And they were having a nice time. You can see her having a nice time because, you know, all this is at the taxpayers' dime. And but I don't mind it. Najua first ladies traveling with their husbands, that's a worldwide practice. So that one I understand. But the first daughter, acheki, like kulikuwa na hizi images pia za Charlene akitembea kwa streets za New York, and she's very happy unacheki, because anaangalia a lot of those people, and alafu anataka kuambia you do know that I'm richer than you, right? Unajua like aambie yuko richer, and of course she stands out. Unajua uzuri wa Charlene, you can never confuse her with anyone because she has one of those heads that very very utakumbuka, especially ukianza kufikiria juu ya Dani alafu muone una understand. But now if you're wondering kwa nini me bring up Charlene is because of course she's there and it's at the taxpayers' dime. I'm sure they're not living at like one of those maybe motels. They're living at some of the finest hotels in the US, and as they live there, that's the taxpayers' dime. Nacheki. And so budake pia ni mtu pendaga spotlight sana. So of course akipata opportunity ya kukaa chini na Christian Manpur haezi kataa. So wali have this discussion where Christian Manpur alikuwa anamuuliza kama ana regret sending out the police and sending out the army during the protest. Na kama kawaida vile musemaga kiburi imerudi.
Did you do the wrong thing by sending the troops out against people who were protesting that they couldn't afford these taxes?
Because he always has deep.
You want to make noise, they ask, but your leader